And I'm live! It's Friday! I've had a less shitty week this week. Last week was horrible, this week was fine. Had to go to the city of Malmö over the day yesterday to do some work, but other than that, pretty fine week. I already had one of these, Bryggmästaren 5.0 Grönburk, as I call it. I like it because it's just 5% alcohol content and it's a really good light lager. And it has the can is pretty nice, so that's fine. I think it's some kind of ecological bullshit, but I don't really care because the beer is fine. I found something awesome. So those who don't know, I really enjoy the Schlenkerla brewery in Germany, middle of Germany. I've been to that brewery in Germany and had this shit from tap, and it's really good. So this is it's a doppelbock. So it should be a little bit strong. What's the alcohol content of this? Does it say? I bought it without checking. It's 8% alcohol content, and it's a doppelbock Schlenkerla oak smoke. Schlenkerla. I haven't had this one before, so it's gonna be exciting. Let's have a try. I still use my tactical spork, and I haven't cut myself on it yet. There we go. It smells nice. Yeah. This is smoky. This is really smoky. Okay, I'm gonna let that settle and check who's in chat here. Kalle is already a bit marinated with Moet. Okay. Hello, Puff. Hitch is with us. The AR-15 is like the new fidget spinner for hunters. Everybody's getting one. Yeah. We're gonna talk about that. Hello, Noble Carl, RA86. Greg is with us. Sick, Normal Citizen is with us. Final Friday. Any other drilling enjoyers with us tonight? My father has a drilling, and he's never used it. I tried to help him sight it in, but it's impossible because those barrels are pointing like that. He has a really shitty drilling. Our folk, det är Kari Konrad. Dalle Karlia, Dalkarl. Skål! Arboga 10. No. If I'm drinking something that's 10% alcohol content or higher, it's gonna be Belgian Trapitz. Let's try this. Ooh. It's really good. Yeah, I can recommend this. It's on the special, you probably have to order it. They had it where I live. It's a pretty big monopoly store, state monopoly store. So they have they have more flavors. Well, yeah, I haven't had this one yet, but it's a little bit stronger. Niklas says these beers are really good to have in a pot of moose meat. Yeah, I can imagine that. This would be really good for cooking. Yeah, a lot of flavor. Falweather friend is saying, I'm telling you, 13% plus pastry stouts are to die for. Stouts are really good. But stouts, even if it's like 0 alcohol in a stout, it's still gonna taste good. But the alcohol in it will make the taste come out better. But it don't really need to be 13%, not a stout. Just for between 4 and 5% in a stout is pretty good. Then you can drink more without getting shit-faced. Normal is saying faxe 10 for the weekend, faxe 5 for the work week. That's alcohol speak. Our Fox says 2 months and 3 weeks since I ordered my AR and still no word. Okay, well that sucks. Are you living in Stockholm or something? Let's talk about that then. So, one of the biggest newspapers in Sweden made this little article. So for those of you who don't speak Swedish, Rush after hunting firearms with a military look. So this is the headline, and they're illustrating this headline with this guy shooting what I guess is an 18-inch AR with a suppressor, some scope, and like a 5-round magazine or something. So this is a pretty big article, and it's the first article on the page. And in the beginning of the article, it's pretty much just bullshit. And then we scroll down, and people like Pia Clerté, our Lord and Savior, gets to have some comments. And but people are gonna look at a locked article and see pretty much the headline, this picture, and this text. And this is what sets the tone of the article. So, since this summer, semi-auto hunting rifles with a military look is allowed in Sweden. And that is true. This is true. And apparently many of these are sold. They've checked with the police, the statistics, and they're sold just about 2,000 semi-auto firearms in Sweden. So during this period. And last year they sold 1,000 semi-auto firearms. So basically they doubled the amount of semi-auto firearms that was sold, and the only rules that's actually been changed is the look. So if it looked like a traditional hunting rifle with a wooden stock or something, that would have been fine from the 1950s and onwards. Anyone could buy semi-auto firearms in a hunting license. These have always been okay for on a sport shooting license. But it's easier to get a license for a hunting firearm in Sweden. There are much many hunters than sport shooters in Sweden. So we have about 70, what is it? Is it 700,000 gun owners in Sweden? I think it is. And several million licenses that these gun owners have. And they sold just about 2,000 ARs so far on a hunting license, which is nothing, a drop in a bucket. But it's enough for this headline and trying to create controversy. The firearms are splitting the hunters. And Fredrik says, I don't want firearms like this in my hunting team. So in this text before the article, they only take out what can be perceived as negative. And they use in this article a nice expression called allmänhetens syn, and you can translate that to the public's view of things. And many people in Sweden are really scared of what the public would see, or allmänhetens syn. What would my neighbors think of me if I owned a firearm like this? Beer break. Cheers. So, allmänhetens syn. Another word for that would be the public opinion. And opinion in Sweden is a less divisive word, because all politicians are trying to change the opinion or create opinion for something. So what Dagens Nyheter, this newspaper, is doing here is actually trying to create an opinion, a political opinion against certain firearms. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? And why would Dagens Nyheter lie about immigration in Sweden? Why would Dagens Nyheter support certain woke agendas? Why would Dagens Nyheter do a bunch of stuff this newspaper has done during the years? And the only thing I can think about is they're basically asshole traders that want to sink Sweden in the Baltic Sea. That is the logical conclusion, or they're just useful idiots for certain political powers. And yeah, and at the moment one of those are Hamas. Certain news, how they frame the news basically supports terrorism at this point. One thing that's not mentioned in this article is that if hunters own these firearms, they could produce an active deterrent for Russia to invade us and stuff like that. This will create a deterrent for foreign invaders that we have. If all 700,000 hunters would have a gun like this at home, yeah, that would create a deterrent for a foreign power to invade Sweden. Same as behind every blade of grass there is a rifleman in the United States that I don't remember the name of the Japanese general who said that during the Second World War. But of course, people owning guns in the United States is a deterrent for anyone wanting to create shit. It's mostly, in America's case, it's a vaccine against crime. You don't commit violent acts against someone who's armed. But that's another discussion that's never going to happen in Sweden either. Mostly I think this is because the left is look at people as collectives and groups, and mostly the state and what can harm the state, while the right is more individual based, individual rights. So the right is okay with people law-abiding people owning shit like this, while the left just see that as a threat to their own power and the power of the state. So yeah, that's my views. Let's look at what Pia Clerté says, because she's read this article and has some comments, and she says it's much better than I would ever do. So let's see what she's saying. So the only thing that's changed is basically the looks of the firearm. The same firearm functioning the same way was still legal before this, and I made videos about that. You could have a Ruger PC carbine with a 33 round happy stick and go have fun at the shooting range before this law change. Now you can have one that looks like an AR with the same exact Glock magazine in the rifle. It would just look different and have better ergonomics. And you can still put a chassis system on your Ruger PC carbine, and it would have pretty much the same ergonomics as an AR-15 anyway. So it's just a minor change that lets us have cool shit, basically. And yeah, we could use this shit for a long time. So there's this alcoholic asshole called Leif GW Persson who made some really stupid comments. And she's talking about leakage theory, the leakage theory. And since the 80s, the police in Sweden has said that legal firearm owners in Sweden are leaking firearms to criminals. That has been proven untrue. It's a lie. But they still keep saying it because the police feel threatened by civilians owning guns or something. I don't know. And there's basically only, the report I've read is about 2 gun crimes per year with civilian owned guns that's ever been civilian owned in Sweden. That means even if they've been stolen and a criminal uses them in a crime. And if you have like 2 million licenses for this shit and only 2 per year is used in a crime, that's not a problem. I mean, just crossing the street is a bigger problem than that. Our problems are other stuff. Basically immigrant gangs with smuggled machine guns. And Leif GW says shit about bump stocks and it's easy to change the stock on a firearm to make it full auto. Just tells me how little he knows. It makes bump firing easier and it will make the firearm jump on the trigger. You can do that without a bump stock in a semi-auto firearm. You won't hit shit either with a bump stock or doing it manually. It's just a stupid way to waste money and ammunition. But actually making a semi-auto firearm full auto is very hard. It's very hard. It's easier to commit a crime by making like an open bolt submachine gun or something from scratch, and that has happened in Sweden. It's called Rattlare. They just made a shit ton of them, integrally suppressed submachine guns made out of metal tubing and springs and a heavy bolt that just jumped on the recoil of the pressure of the 9mm, like a Sten gun or something, or a Swedish K. It's like a full auto bicycle pump, basically. It's not hard to do. Just Google that shit and you'll find out how to do it. It's easier than 3D printing a firearm. I'm not even joking. During the Second World War, Polish resistance made that in the basements all over the place. There was Danish resistance who made their version of it. There was a shit ton of that being made during the Second World War in basements by people without even proper machines, way before 3D printing was a thing. And I would say that pretty much anyone can do it with a Dremel if they just have the plans to do it and just basic knowledge. It would be a shit firearm, but it would work. You don't need rifling for a firearm like that. You would need a hardened metal tubing with pretty much the right diameter. Yeah, I already mentioned these things, and she mentions criminals as well. Yeah, and she says focus on the actual criminals, not the tools. You can't unmake a criminal by taking their tool away. Even if all the stupid criminals in Sweden wouldn't have access to firearms anymore, they would still commit crimes. They would get a sharp stick and kill people with that. They make homemade bombs. How many bombings do we have? Like 300 a year in Sweden? It's ridiculous. And also in this article, they actually talked to Erik Lakoma for an hour, and he told them basically how things work. And he's an actual professor, and it's done actual research on this. And nothing in this article has anything to do with that. And I think, so Leif GW says it's crazy, and it's popular with criminals, and it's used in school shootings, mass shootings, and terror attacks. That's magical thinking, like a 3-year-old would do it. Every firearm is dangerous in the wrong hands. Just make sure you don't invite fucking terrorists to your country and you will be fine. Yeah. Yeah, also he's been talking about shooting from the hip, like he's watched too many 80s movies as well. Yeah, whatever. Let's talk about this a little bit. So we got a fine from the EU for 100 million or something, and one of the reasons we got it was because the socialist government, just put forth really restrictive gun laws they wanted to enact, and since there isn't actually a majority to create stupid gun laws in Sweden. They couldn't get it to pass. If they only did what the current government did and actually made something that was kind of reasonable, it's not perfect. It could be a lot better, but it's not the end of all things. Pew pew. Anyway, they would have got it through. They tried to do it as well, but it was still too restrictive. So, of course, Aftonbladet, which is a left-wing newspaper, didn't mention it's the last government. They actually blamed the current government for it, which is bullshit. They actually got it enacted, the Firearms Directive, and made it passable. Let's call it that. What was I gonna say? Yeah. But the current government said, "Oh, we have to pay a fine if we don't enact this magazine law." That was kind of bullshit. They made it in a wrong way. It's not horrible. It's better than most European Union countries. We can still have large magazines and all that. If we only need a license for a firearm. We can't own a magazine for a firearm we don't have a license for, which is bullshit. It's just plastics with a spring. Anyway, at least if it's above 10 rounds for rifles and about 20 for handguns. Below that, we can still own it without a license. Anyway. That was the reasoning. We will get a big fine if you don't enact this stupid gun law. It's urgent, and everyone said, "Okay, let's do it." We still got the fine, and 100 million is not a lot for a country. It's pocket change. Yeah. So we got the fine. So I hope that we can change the stupid magazine law so that it's better than what we have now. We'll see what happens. We get a new investigation in how to change the gun laws this coming spring, so we'll see. Let's see here. What is chat saying here after my little rant about idiots in Sweden? Normal citizen says the same amount of permits are. Yeah, rookie numbers still, I would say. Are the hunters they are talking about for real? Yeah. So we have this community online in Sweden called the Robsoft, and they're filled with FUDs, and they've always been filled with FUDs. I was there for a short while, like 15 years ago or something, and I talked about guns like they were cool, which was not okay. I was basically chased out of that place, and I never went back. Fuck those assholes. And someone presented me with screenshots from the AR-15 thread there. That was closed down and removed. And yeah, there's a lot of FUDs that says that, oh, this is the end of all hunting in Sweden. What would Aftonbladet think if they knew we could get these guns? And now after DN's article, the article I presented, they're all gonna say, look at this shit, we must ban. They're stupid FUDs. Yeah, there are hunters like that. But my hope is that many people will buy an AR-15 now, and the next generation will buy it. And that will slowly make it culturally okay in hunting teams, even conservative ones. When someone's son shows up with an AR-15 and he's not an asshole about it. So I'm gonna show up in my hunting team with an AR-10 hunting moose. And I'm going to allow everyone to shoot it. They're going to say, that's a cool rifle. Hopefully. We'll see. There are conservatives as well. Everyone has a Blazer in 300 Win Mag because it's a manly caliber. They're very conservative and very concerned about being manly. So I'm going to bring the Ruger AR-10 I'm hoping to buy. And we'll see. I'll report next September about that. But yeah. CSStorm215 says, who benefits the most from gun laws? The state. Same with freedom of speech. It should be that way, but you have to remember that the left is totalitarian, and they are only concerned with more power to the state, more power to their institutions they infiltrated with a long march through the institutions and stuff like that. And they are by design corrupt and centralizing power to their friends, and anything that can be perceived as a threat to their hegemony, basically, is gonna make it an instinctive reaction. Basically, it's disgusting. Manja maybe the 90 says, never say never about CCW, concealed carry weapons. Who would have thought ARs on a hunting a few years ago? That's a long way in the future. If you want to have that, move to the Czech Republic. Or Bulgaria, or Estonia, or other countries. It's interesting that it's the Eastern European countries that allow this shit. CCW, it's not shit, allow this glorious thing. It would be so easy to make it legal in Sweden. So we already have the laws in place for it. All we would have to do is change a little bit of a wording in the Polismyndighetens författningssamling. So the police has authority to set the rules for concealed carry. And if they just changed some small bits in it, it would be fine. I would prefer some kind of legal... so for example, if you're allowed to own a handgun in Sweden, you have to have a very high proficiency with it. So you would have to be able to be accurate with a firearm. And I would prefer a practical and a theoretical test for persons to be able to have a CCW. And it would be fairly quick. Just the same test as the Swedish police for handling the firearm, draw from holster. And it will be drawn from the holster for your firearm. And then it's super easy, like a couple of shots at 7 meters into basically an IPSC target. It's like super easy, and still a lot of police officers fail at it. The police are shit with their handguns. Anyway, so it wouldn't be a hard practical test, and it would be something that I would feel fine with someone carrying concealed that they would have to be able to perform that, at least. And then some basics on self-defense law. When are you allowed to use it? And it's basically if you are under a credible threat of death, because a firearm is a deadly weapon. So you would have had to had a knife pointed at you at the very least, or someone trying to run you over with a car or something like that. It would have to be a deadly threat against you, and you would have to use a deadly threat to defend yourself, which is why anyone would have a concealed carry. And it's basically the same as the United States. And we already have good self-defense laws, but it would have to be clarified perhaps on how to use it. But anyone should be able to conceal carry their firearm. I would prefer if someone had a handgun already, they could use it for concealed carry, like add something to the license. This is allowed for concealed carry if you in between a date or something, if you have to renew it. But I wouldn't want, I don't know. It's hard. But yeah, some kind of test at least, so people are aware of the laws and can defend themselves with a CCW. Because we do not have a Second Amendment. Best case scenario for me would be a Second Amendment in Sweden, and then constitutional carry, of course. But that's not going to happen while any one of us is still alive. So what I mentioned earlier, that's the realistic scenario if it would ever come to pass. Foul Weatherfriend says the Overton window is nowhere near CCW. Yes, that is correct. That is very correct. But our stupid criminality in Sweden might actually change that sooner or later. But we will all be dead before it's changed enough. So in Sweden it works this way. We have a problem. It takes 10 years for the problem to be actually recognized as a problem. Then it takes 10 years for the politicians to actually do something about the problem, enact laws, whatever. And then it's too late by about 20 years. That's how that works in Sweden. Look at immigration, for examples, or the current crime epidemic that they're basically made happen. Manga Weebs United says the next generation of FUDs will own ARs and look down on phased plasma rifles in the 40-watt range. You, sir, are amazing. That was super funny. I need to remember that shit. I'm gonna steal it and use it for myself. That would be a really fun sketch for some online comedians to do. Skål. Oh. Butcherbird says Leif GW describes naughty guns like a 4-year-old dentist. Yeah, he's retarded. I don't know why anyone listens to that guy anymore. He's so full of shit. Fredrik says AR-10 is an objectively superior moose hunting rifle in almost every way. Changed my mind. Yeah, and so an AR-10 is. So I really want one. I have a lever action. It's quite fast, and I have 6 rounds in the tube mag with 4570, and it's really good for short range. And the reason I use it is because just 300 meters from me, a hunter was attacked by a brown bear and almost died. He managed to shoot it like a couple of meters in front of him. It fell down. If it hadn't, he would have been dead right now. He is a relative of mine. And that just happened 300 meters from me. And he shot with a straight pull blazer. And he's a very experienced hunter. So it sounded like a semi-auto. And with my lever action, I believe I could do the same tempo in shots. But it's still really hard to do that. With an AR-10 and a 5-round mag, if that situation happened to me, which is likely if I continue hunting at the same place, there's a lot of bears. Sooner or later I would need to defend myself during my entire life. Or at least get scared by a moose or bear. Like usually they just go up on their hind legs and do like that, and then you run away, and then it just walks away. That's the most likely scenario. But every year there's a hunter that's severely mauled by a bear or in Sweden. So yeah, I would like to keep my arms and legs in one piece. And getting an AR-10 is a cheap way to get some firepower downrange fast. So yeah, my I'm gonna put a LPVO on mine, 1x6, 1x8, something like that. Then I can with a ballistic BDC reticule for 308, and then just do holdovers on zero it at 100, do holdovers up to 200 if I need it, because it's north of Sweden, so shooting distances can go up to like 200 or something. I think some asshole in my hunting team shot a moose at 500 once. I would never even try that, but he did it and he got it, and that was more volume of fire than accurate shots. Yeah, old men with people seem to be very fast at complaining about young shooters having an AR or something because it looks cool. In my experience, the most careful gun owners are the new gun owners. They know that this is a lethal firearm. They're not used to the firearm and handling it, so they are overly cautious, which everyone should be. They should think this is a death ray stick that can kill people if I'm an idiot about it, which it is. But old hunters don't have a respect for their firearms. Not all of them, but many. And yeah, some of them in my hunting team, they probably shouldn't hunt moose anymore. Right, Viking 1 is with us. Skål på dig. Father Weatherfriend says, haha, make the police test the test for the CCW and watch the police implode trying to justify denying the license. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah. I have some stories from one of the police officers doing the qualifying tests or overseeing the qualifying tests. Let's just summarize it with many police officers shouldn't carry a firearm. Jimmy says, stop being so negative, confess what you want to see. We will have the right to carry eventually, just need a new nation, which might not be far off. Yeah, if you're being realistic, the new nation would be something that speaks Arabic. And I don't think we would have any concealed carry. We would probably be in a camp or something. If you want to conceal carry, move to the Czech Republic. That's what I say. Then you get your new nation you want. Felix says, accurate follow-up shots, baby, plus a lot softer recoil and lower weight. Yeah. I'm not sure about the lower weight, because you have extra metal on it. There's some really lightweight bolt actions, because there's less metal needed in a bolt action. And also with a synthetic stock in a bolt action with a smaller scope and don't have a suppressor on it and stuff like that, it's gonna be super lightweight. So that cannot be compared to an AR-10. An AR-10 is a little bit heavier, but it has a much better ergonomic, and if you manage to get the balance right on it with a good stock and everything, so the balance point is on the trigger or something, if you put the rifle here and it balances on the trigger, then it's super nice to shoot. Depends on how much crap you're gonna put on it. So don't have like a full-length handguard, and be careful with how heavy of a suppressor you put on it. For hunting, you can get away with a like a reflex aluminium suppressor or something. So put that on it, or put an aluminium suppressor on it that goes underneath the handguard, at least back to the gas block. That would look super cool on a AR-10. Shit, I might actually do that. Yeah, we'll see. So yeah, there's a bunch of options, and I'm gonna try to make it as lightweight as I possibly can. So it's not gonna have a big mag, it's just gonna go 5-rounders, but and an LPVO is lightweight compared to a full-size scope. Obviously a red dot would be even more lightweight, but I want to, since it could be up to 200 meters I don't want to have a red dot. Yeah, so it's gonna be nice. I'll make some videos about that. Okay, Viking 1 is gonna try a new suppressor at the shooting range on Sunday. That's good. I'll see if I'll show up on Sunday. I'm not sure. Fredrik says, yeah, but super lightweight bolt actions in large caliber sucks to shoot. Yes, any rifle that's super lightweight is gonna suck to shoot. But you have to remember that a hunting rifle, you're only gonna shoot like once or twice or something while hunting, so you can suck it up for 2 shots. It's gonna be fine. You'll survive. Get some padding on your shoulder if you're I was gonna say a homo, but let's find a better word. I can't figure it out. Felix says, aren't LPVOs all bad and out of fashion now? No, actually, what was it? What's the brand? There's a new one, a 1x10. I really want to buy, but it's like 20,000 Swedish krona. It's a 1x10 that has a really good reticule. It's first focal plane, but it has a parallax setting. So the reason I usually don't like LPVOs is because it's a compromise. Like everything is a compromise. So I would like a parallax wheel on all my scopes so I can take accurate shots. So if you have an LPVO that's like 1 to 10, then you can do like long range shooting. It could be a really good DMR rifle comparably for those kind of usage scenarios. But if it doesn't have a parallax, it's going to be like a one size fits all type of deal, and those are usually bad at everything. So LPVOs that tries to do everything is usually quite shitty at everything. And most LPVOs has ridiculously shitty reticules. It's like a cross with a little lead dot in the middle. Those are shit. What are you going to use that for? But there's a bunch of them that's really good now. So what I'm thinking about is something like the Primary Arms LPVO, just for hunting. This is just for hunting, and what they have is a chevron, and then they have some range marks, and then they have some ranging things at the side. So you go 100 meters, 200 meters. You can take really quick shots with it. But they also have target turrets, and then you just mark out the distances on a card or something. So I would want lockable target turrets. You just push it up when you're at a high seat, and then you lace all the distances. You know, oh, this tree over there is like 250 away or something. And if a moose comes from that tree, 250, click, and then you take the shot. If it's at that distance, the moose won't be disturbed by you. It won't hear you. And if it shows up, it won't smell you either. If it smells you, you won't ever see it. So for those kind of usage scenarios, LPVO with a BDC will work fine. Or if you're in Ukraine or something. But if you're most shooting I do, sport shooting, an LPVO isn't that great. Might be for IPSC, but most IPSC shooters still have a red dot on it. And just use that at every range up to like 300 or something. Helmer says, hey Hage, love your vids and community. If you haven't already, show up in Discord. I haven't been that active in Discord lately because I've been so busy at work, and I'm all pooped out afterwards, and I just become a zombie at home trying to get better. I have my own basement gym at home. So I went downstairs, and I haven't showered yet either. I'm disgusting right now. But I did the deadlifts, a combined weight of like 6 metric tons. And I just to get in the zone. I'm trying to do high reps, low weights right now because I'm getting old. I'm turning 46 now, so I can't really do the heavy weights anymore because my joints just try to kill me. But if I do high reps with low weights, it will increase mobility. It's basically aerobic training. What did I do? Like 100 kilos for 15 reps per set, no rest between sets, and that's pretty good. My 1 rep max for this year was 220 kilos. I would not be able to do it right now, obviously, but I did do it this year, last spring. So 220 kilos for 1 rep max is okay for a 45-year-old. Let's see here, what is chat saying? Fredrik says, I just remember all of YouTube going from loving LPVOs to hating them basically overnight, and I found it funny. They're still good. They're still good. I have an LPVO, one of the first ones, the Vortex Viper 1x4, the first generation of it. It's kind of shit by today's standards, but when it came, it was really innovative and actually quite good. But I have it on my lever action now, and that's a sub 100 meter gun, but it's still good. It has a reticule that's able to be used and target turrets and all that, but it's 0.2 clicks, 0.2 mils per click. It's still okay for what it is, and it works. But I would like lockable turrets for a hunting rifle. Helmer wants to know what the best AR-15 is for hunting. Price limit is way more than I'm comfortable with. So if you want something that's good for a decent price, try to find Air Precision. Air Precision will always work. I've never heard anything bad about Air Precision, but it is like vanilla AR-15, and they make all their own stuff, and it just works. It's direct impingement and have all the standard bells and whistles. So the funny thing about AR-15s is it's the Barbie doll for adult men. So if you buy an Air Precision, you can change out everything for all the standard parts. You know, you can change the fire selector or the trigger or whatever you want. You can change it. And yeah, so if you buy a stock Air Precision rifle with an 18-inch barrel for hunting, it would be an okay price compared to like a Daniel Defense or whatever, and you could later turn it into whatever you want if you want to fiddle around with it, put in better triggers or whatnot. So yeah, I would say just Air Precision. For the price, it's really good. Swiss Hunters want to know, what do you think about MKE T94 MP5 clone? I have one, and it's worked fine for me actually. But it's still a Turkish gun, and fuck Turkey. But yeah, it's worked fine for me. But mine is very old. It's, how old is it? It's at least 15 years old, if not older. I bought it from Waffen Schumacher in Germany, and it was my T94 is not a good. It's not. You can't compare it to other T94s because MKE used it as a reference firearm to create their line of T94s. So when the T94 line was created, they made this one to perfect specs with German engineers, and then they used it to basically compare to all the rest of the MP5s. And Waffen Schumacher got it and had it on like IWA and SHOT Show and other places as a display piece. And I used to know the sales director for Waffen Schumacher. I'm not even sure if Waffen Schumacher is around anymore in Germany. But anyway, he sold it to me because he has a private gun business. So I bought my Dragunov from him as well. That was another showpiece they had, made on special order from Ishmash in Russia. And yeah, so my T94 is pretty special. Niklas Persson, do you know anything about Stag Arms? Stag Arms is probably okay. I know some people with Stag Arms. They haven't had any issues with the Stag Arms firearms, so it's probably going to be okay. I think GP Rifle sells them in Gothenburg. Stag Arms is probably okay as well. Yeah, there's a bunch of shit. You guys have to remember that AR-15 is like a standard. There's a mil-spec standard for it, and if you buy an AR-15, you can basically play around with it a lot and use whatever you find on it. You can go to Brownells and get poor buying shit for your AR-15. Go to gun stores in Sweden that sell IPSC shit. If you're not satisfied with the trigger, buy a match trigger. Buy a Giselle match trigger or any other match trigger. If you're not satisfied with the handguard, just swap it out. Buy something else. Buy some fancy amlock, whatever. Unless you buy an HK or a piston-based rifle, then then you're stuck with it. If you buy SIG stuff, I'm sorry. The latest generations of SIG MCXs or whatever is usually good, but an AR-10s is a totally different thing. Every AR-10 is basically unique. So, but AR-15, direct impingement AR-15s, buy them. Even if you buy a shitty one, a lemon, you can take it to a gunsmith, take it to ARS or something, and then they will just fix it for you. Just throw money at ARS, and Anton and Leo will just make it shine. They'll just take your shitty direct impingement AR you bought for nothing, give them money enough, and they'll just make it into something ridiculously cool. That's because it's a standard. You can, I don't know, what's a good comparison? Some kind of car that everyone uses to modify. Some Japanese car everyone modifies to hell and back. That's an AR-15. You need new rims for that car. There's like 1,000 different ones. That's the AR-15. It's such a big market because USA. Even Russia is making their own AR-15 nowadays. Tag 556 says, cheers, I still have 6 hours to go here in the US until I get to drink. Yeah. That's funny because when I do shit with Mark, he's usually, it's like, what's the time in Florida right now? It's like 10 or 11 or something in the morning, AM. And he still managed to find a way to drink a beer when he's on the stream. RA86 says, want to buy another class 2 rifle, which is 5.56 or equivalent. Should I get another AR-15, a Steyr AUG, or a WBP Jack AK? Well, if you have an AR-15 already, just get an AK. Everyone needs an AK. Get an AK. But an AK with an 18-inch barrel is kind of silly. Yeah, get a Steyr AUG. The AUG is nice. It's really nice. Viking 1 says, all of them. Yeah. The correct answer is always all of them. Do it. Any experience with zero compromise optics? Yes, I actually talked with them at a fair. I didn't record it, but so they have these scopes nowadays with like up to 40 or 50 times magnification. And I asked them, does anyone actually use that? Who's the consumer that buys this? What's the target group for this? And I got them to actually admit that anyone who buys a scope like that doesn't know anything about anything. Because every time I shoot long range, I use 10 times magnification. That's enough. If it's good glass, and Zero Compromise has the best glass, you get the resolution to see the details. And if you really need to see more details, then you can zoom in a bit, but you don't need that kind of resolution, or that kind of magnification, I mean. It's not needed, because the more you zoom in, the less light comes in, the less resolution. It's kind of shit to zoom in that much. I do a lot of photography, and zooming in that much makes the picture shitty. Doesn't really matter how good of a glass you use. It has to collect more light to show you the picture. It's basically zooming in to this little part and blowing it up again, and the photons coming into the glass, they're not enough. You don't need that. 5x25, the classic Schmidt & Bender Police Marksman 2, that is more than enough. 20 or just about 20 times magnification. The only time I use that is when I zero the rifle or if I need to mill something. And usually I don't even go max magnification for that. I go slightly below, like 16, 17 times magnification. You can get away with that as well. And zero compromise optics fell to the sweet song of money and made optics that no one actually has a usage scenario for. But the regular line of like 5x25 equivalent, that is actually really good, but it's not worth the money. That level of optics, they just made a really big effort to get a good rumor around them that zero compromise means that they don't compromise with everything, but they do, and I've proven it because I talked to them and got them to admit it. Anyway, it's a good product, but it's not worth the money. There's other products that does the same thing and works equally well. You don't need to pay the premium for a zero compromise. You can get away with, well, not even Schmidt and Bender. There's others. It's Kahle, Kahle or whatever. That is good as well, and it's not as expensive. They still have the same glass and whatever. So yeah, I would say my verdict on zero compromise is it's probably not worth the money, but if you really want the best, they're probably the best. But it's just different flavors of the same ice cream at that price range. So it's more important to really know what you need it for. What are you going to do with it? And you have to have something that's perfect for your specific need, and it's reticule and other functions, ergonomics, and how you're used to using it. This is not a first scope you buy. This is like the 10th scope you buy when you're a professional or you're a high-level competitor, like on the elite international level. No one else has a need for this. It's ridiculously expensive. Yeah, so anyone buying a zero compromise is either a international level competitor, a professional that has a state paying it for him, or a poser, a LARPer with too much money. Yeah, that's my verdict on zero compromise. Right, almost out of beer. Last questions. Anything else? Niklas says Carles. Yes, that's a good brand. That's actually a really good brand. It's very popular with long-range shooters in Sweden. At least it used to be. I'm not sure what everyone is using nowadays. Once upon a time, the Vortex Racer Generation 3 was very popular with all long-range shooters in Sweden. Then everyone went over to Carles. Everyone is really trend sensitive in that community. But both of those optics are nice. So check your second-hand market for those. But most important, if you're going to do long-range shooting, first focal plane, a reticule you can use that's mil, not stupid American measurements. Mil on everything. Back in the day, you could get MOA turrets and a mil reticule. That's not that common nowadays. I haven't seen that for many years. But yeah, that shit happened back in the day. But slowly companies have learned how to make shit. Yeah. And I have to give a shout out to Primary Arms. They have Japanese glass in their nice optics, or the mid-segment optics they usually use, which is really good. Japanese glass is good, and the reticules are really thought out. They're good, most of them, if you get the mil ones at least. And yeah, it's a good company. I wish they were a European company, so could get hold of their shit a little bit faster. And I'm out of beer. What can you do? That was all my beer. Did my stream die? Well, I'm out of beer. You guys have a nice weekend. I'm gonna close the stream before it shuts down itself. Right. I'm tired. I've been working all week. I think I have like 7 or 8 hours overtime this week or something. See you guys. Remember to go out and shoot. I'm gonna try to go to the shooting range with a friend of mine and his friends tomorrow, and we'll see if I get to make some nice video. See ya.